Word. All right, everybody. Hi, Ricardo. Yeah,
Hi.
you jumped on just in time.
Yeah,
Good,
half
good,
late.
good.
I'm here.
Thank you so much. All
We
right.
are
So,
losing power all the time. So
are you?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I might lose you.
Okay. I hope you don't. I hope it stays on.
Okay.
All right. So, like I said earlier, we're gonna come back to number 6. So, but tonight we're gonna do Ignite Spark number 7, which is find and win the buyers. So how many we have? A couple of you who had buyers, right? Quack, you have Leah, Rose, and Ricardo, right? You've been working with buyers and
Correct.
they can be a little difficult, right?
Yes.
So to start this off, the biggest thing is we always want to be lead generating. Whether at any time, all the time, regardless. So one things that you should probably do on the daily, and this is just a reminder of what we all should be doing. Always making the calls. Right now, those care calls. Hey, how you doing? You need anything? I'm here for you. How are the kids? How was Easter? And doing that. The other thing is right now is knowing your market, right? Get on MLS, what's new, what's done a price change, what's back on the market under agreement, and be the expert of your market right now. How long houses are, staying on the market before an offer comes, because the more you know about your market now and the more educated you are, the better off you're going to be when that buyer comes. Like what happened during COVID, Rose, what was happening, and then you'll be able to be like, yeah, prices did drop more, which is good for you, buyer, because, they're sitting there a little bit longer and maybe we have a better chance of capturing that house that you really love. And you'll always have the information that you need for them. So always be lead generating, always know what's happening in your market. So when we're on the back end of this, and even now with, if you have anybody now, if they're asking you those questions, then you're going to know. So how many people use an agent on a buyer side? Does anybody know the percentage?
The A 7%?
Yeah, about 90% of buyers use an agent, and 41% of those get them through referrals, whether it's family or friends. So for those, what should we be doing? So we should
contacting your sphere of influence.
Exactly. Yep. And with Command now, we have all those smart plans that are there. And so before we use like the 36 touch, right? It was emails, phone calls, newsletters. And now we can do that in smart plans and setting those up. There are some that are already canned and ready to go. And now we have the ability now to also create our own. So getting those people that that are through your families and friends, or even your past client coming back and saying, hey, my aunt is looking. So keeping with your sphere and what you've sold is really going to keep you ahead of the game. Especially now because we have the time. And I hate using this one as an excuse, but it kind of is the best time for us to be doing this. And with that even being said, 75% of the buyers only interview one agent. One. What do you think of that? Should they be interviewing more people? Or do you think their first agent should be the one?
I mean, with buyers, typically they're pretty comfortable with the first person that they talk to. I mean, if they're uncomfortable, that's usually, I think, why they change, but like agents.
Mm-hmm. And then they don't know what they don't know.
There it is.
Right? So that's why I think that they stick with the first agent. But at the same time, you have to bring value. So what are the ways that we can provide that value to a buyer? What are some of the things that we can say to either A, keep them with us, to to show that we're there for them, because really we don't get compensated until the back end of it, right?
Mhm.
So we have to show that value up front, because it's kind of easy for buyers to stray, right?
Mhm.
So what are the things that we should think about when we're working with a buyer?
Commitment, loyalty,
Mm-hmm. Yep. And in what ways can we do that? Show like we're committed to them.
regular contact, do a research for them, trying to get the answer
Those are
on
all
a
great.
timely basis.
Yeah, those are fantastic. That's exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for service and value. We're looking, all right, so you have a buyer, they're pre-approved, but you're like, you know what? With the market right now, would it benefit you if, for you to look at other lenders? I have a few that you might want to call, because they have Rocket Mortgage, right? So we may not be very happy with that. But, telling them to shop for rates because of what it is now, providing, a few attorneys, or providing home inspectors, that is bringing value to them.
Mhm.
And Nina, that's absolutely true. The MLO portion of this is probably very high on the list now, because the parameters for buyers have changed.
Mhm.
The credit requirements are much higher than they were just 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
And the debt to ratio income has changed from just 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
So buyers that we have who were buyers in good standing 3 weeks ago have now fallen off of that list.
For sure.
And so knowing what the latest numbers are, and that's a big challenge because they change hourly, not just daily now.
Exactly.
But having some idea what those are so that you can have that discussion with them,
Hmm.
because they may have a pre-approval in hand that isn't worth the paper it's written on, because they got it a month ago.
That's right. Yep.
So
Regarding
that's-
that, I noticed something too. The Fed, they decreased the interest rate, but it looked like the bank hasn't applied yet to the clients. I don't know why they taken so long. When it's the other way around, when the Fed increased the interest rate, they raise it right away.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
there's
now a
too
lot
much
of that is
volatility. There's too much volatility right now. And they're in protection mode. So I
Mhm.
don't think we're going to see much of a dip.
Right. I imagine that we're going to continue to see as low rates as the banks feel comfortable with right now to attract the buyers that meet those high standards that they have. Right.
Yeah.
So they're not looking at, buyers that could lose their home in a year, but I think that we're going to continue to see a low rates for a little while. So they can continue to attract those buyers that are kind of a solid choice.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm sorry, Quack, I talked over you.
no, all that's absolutely true. I think the MLOs, many of them now are cherry picking.
Hmm.
The best credit, the best debt to income will get the best rates.
mhm.
And the other ones, particularly if you've fallen below maybe the 700, but certainly the 680,
Mhm.
you're going to have a hard time even having a conversation with them.
Mhm.
So again, it's good to be able to bring that information to the table, because the buyers that you talk with, the new ones, but maybe even the past ones, don't necessarily realize that they to your point, Rose, they saw that the rates are very low now from the Fed, but that doesn't translate into the MLOs, not at this
Right.
point. It
Right.
will. I have confidence that it will in the future.
Exactly.
I do. I don't think we're going to have a V, recovery, but I'm pretty confident it'll go in our favor in the not too distant future. But right now, that's not the case.
Right. Yeah, I would have to completely agree. Which then leads us into where are they searching now? So with all this stuff, they're searching virtually, right? Open houses, they're there, but they're not the way they used to. And even the future of our open houses, we're just going to see a change in that. because we know what's working now. And I think it's kind of cool. But 51% of buyers feel that going to an open house is the best way to search for a home. So what can we do as a buyer's agent to monopolize on us getting clients? What are some of the things that we can do?
Host open houses.
Very good. That's number one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So with the agents that we know that do a lot of listings, and hopefully after this is all over, they have even more to come on, right? Because our buyers need it. Asking them to host their open houses, to be there with them. They just might need the help. You might be able to get, a referral fee that you'd have to pay maybe from buyers, or, to that listing agent if you capture a buyer. Or maybe I even heard some things I was watching today that they just split them 50-50, because it turns into a win-win regardless, because while you're talking to somebody, they're able to still talk to another person. So it just becomes a win-win, and everyone's looking to help each other. And that's kind of like our KW culture, that, we're always wanting to help. So one way or another, if you're able and you have a good relationship with a listing agent, or maybe it's in like close to you and that they live a little further away, to have that happen is really helpful on both parts. So now, a lot of things that happen in open houses, we find that the buyers come, but then after talking to them for a little while, we realize they have a house to sell, right? So then our conversation kind of turns a little bit, right? All right, well, you have to sell something. I can help you with that too. And we'll talk a little bit more in a little later about how we can turn that conversation into not only having a buyer's appointment, but then again, having a dual and having a listing appointment with it too. Other helpful things that when you're looking for that buyer from the open house, when to help keep those leads and help the lead capture still happen, we want to call them in 24 to 48 hours after the open house, if not that evening, and checking in with them. How did you like the house? Did it fit your needs? Sending them a note if they put their address on the open house sign-in sheet. Maybe even right then and there in the open house, we're sharing our apps with them right there. We set them on the open house smart plans, because we have one that will send a message as soon as they sign up on your app, and then 2 days later it'll trigger, hey, are you still looking? So there are other ways that we can stay in contact with them after the open house.
Can I interject a little?
Absolutely.
So you mentioned that open houses have changed, and that
Mhm.
certainly is true. What we've known, and what I should have capitalized on the 7th of March on our last open house, where we had 160 people come through. We typically have them sign in, which you just mentioned. Give us your name, your phone number, your email address. Are you working with an agent? That kind of information. I'm never doing that again. Not having them sign in.
Right.
You can't read them. I thought I had bad handwriting. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So after the fact, I've got 7 or 8 sheets full of sign-ins, and maybe 40% of them I could actually read.
I agree. I have also sign-in sheets that I can't make out, or emails. I'm like, oh, this is useless. I can't tell if this is a D or an A.
Yeah, right, exactly. So in the future, if we get back to actual open houses, we'll use an iPad that they can type onto. Much harder
Yeah.
for them to obscure things.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime, it's going to be open houses that are showings every 30 minutes, right? That's really what the open house is. And I'm still going to say, stand here for a moment and tell me what the information is. I'll write it down for you.
Yes.
Mhm.
Now I'm going to use the the hook that, you know, in this day and age, we really don't want to be sharing pens. So if you just say it out loud, I'll write it down.
That's
Yeah.
perfect, Quack.
Yeah, but what I really
like
want
that.
is that valid info so we can follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's tons of free apps just for people who are new to the business. Cleared is one of them, Kleard, that has a free version you can use, just a standard 2-3 question sign in on most mobile devices.
Or you can team up with Steve and he can do an open house thing and you could co-market because he has an open house sign in. And it'll be easier to pull into your database. Throwing that out there. Because he can send you a list and then you can just pull it right in. But that's a really, really good thing now too. And especially with how technology's going, people are, that's where they're at. They're on their phones, they're on their computers. And now we're just seeing that more today than we probably ever have. And then being proactive with them, which would be if once you capture all of that information, set them up. As soon as your open house is over, one of the things that you should do is just go in, enter them in your database, set them up on a smart plan. If you have their addresses, we're putting them on the neighborhood nurture where, you know, entering everything in there. We're sending up a follow note, a text, email, something. And then I found these little nuggets of information today. So when buyers are coming to your open houses, what are the first things that come out of your mouth when you have them come in? What do you do?
I say hi.
Mm-hmm.
I'll usually tell them if they have to wear booties or not. And
Yeah.
then I'll usually ask them to sign in when they have a moment to get into the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. So one of the other things that I've noticed that I've been working really well is, how did you find us today? So what does that open up? If I say, oh, Rose, thank you so much for coming to my open house. You know, we have a sign-in sheet there. How did you find us today?
Right, that starts a dialogue for
Right?
sure.
It could be, I saw your sign, that I saw it on Zillow and I had to come, or they're a neighbor, right? So instead of now to even expand on that question, saying those things, did you specifically want to come see this house? Did you see all my signs out on Main Street over there? I know I'm a little crazy putting my signs out, right? So yeah, did you see them? All right, good. Or are you a neighbor? Because hopefully, if I'm doing my job right as a listing agent, I've already knocked the neighborhood, right? And I'm showing the neighborhood and the people that have answered their doors that I care about their neighborhood. And so hopefully they come, because then that conversation might lead into they need to list their home. So now they're checking me out. Now I'm helping my seller. I'm trying to gather those buyers, but I may get another listing from the neighborhood because they saw how good my open house was and they saw how I was taking care of their neighbor, and they might turn around and ask me to list their house at a future date. So even knowing that allows you to set up these different groups of people on different smart plans and on different and how you're going to talk to them for a future business. If you saw me on, you know, if you just saw my signs, it just might be you were driving around clueless. You know, you want to buy a house, but you don't know how, right? So, or you're just nosy and you were driving and you had nothing else to do, but at least you're trying to find that out, because people just don't show up to an open house if they're not interested in something, right? Other things that I thought was good. What do we ask them to? We ask them another question that people always ask. And I found this nugget of information that I thought was fantastic. We say, are you working with a realtor? Right? That's what we say. But this nugget of information I just found the other day, instead of saying that, let's get that question out. Who is your realtor? Because now we're really going to find out if they are working with somebody. Because
Mhm.
if you are working with someone, you'd be like, oh yeah, Rose Higgins from Keller Williams, she's my real estate agent. Okay, great. But if they're stammering and they don't know, or they're like, yeah, someone showed me a house like a few days ago, well, now you know you can redirect that question, right? You can
Mhm.
say, oh, okay. So have you signed a buyer's agency agreement with them? Are you exclusively working with that agent?
Mhm.
No, I mean, they showed me a house, but I haven't talked to them in a couple weeks. Okay, now you know that you can hone in more on this person and try to get them to be your client and sign that buyer's agency agreement of exclusivity with you. And it's just such an ambiguous, now that I hear it and I've said it out loud a few times, are you working with a realtor? It only gives you two answers, and it
Mhm.
gives them the cop out. So you don't find anything more about them. Most people will say, yeah, 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 because they don't want to keep going. But who's your realtor allows you to ask those other follow-up questions that'll help you hopefully get a buyer's appointment with them, or a buyer's agency agreement and a client. So sometimes they'll say that, yeah, oh yeah, my cousin on my mother's side is a real estate agent, so she's going to help me. Okay, great. So is your cousin from the area? No, she lives down on the Cape, but I'm looking up here in the Northbridge area. Okay, well, we know that the Cape and up here in this part of Massachusetts, they're two totally different entities. And so maybe she or he may not have the time to come this way to show those houses. So again, there's another way to show your value of like, you know what, I understand that, your cousin's a real estate agent, and, but I'm the expert in this area. I'd be willing to give a referral fee to your cousin. Would that be something you'd be interested in? So that little nugget, and it may not be in this order, but having that in the back of your head to say, I still understand that your cousin is important to you, but I'm the expert in this area. Would I be able to do that? So because she's bringing business to my area. And, you know, obviously if I had something on the Cape, I would refer it out myself, because that's a huge drive and I don't think I'd want to do that. So you're still showing value, and you're still showing that you care in that aspect too, and that you're not like, oh, well, your cousin doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, right? No, we're showing like, oh, I appreciate that you have somebody in the business, but they're in a different area, so your knowledge base is maybe a little bit better than theirs. So that was like another little nugget of information that I've been looking up, and I'm on YouTube all the time myself anyway now. So I thought that was really good. Other questions were listening to their needs. So let's say Marilyn holds like a great open house, and I really have to follow her on one of hers at one point, but maybe Jake can attest to this because you've been. But listening to what their needs are. So maybe you're going through the house with them and they have questions. And they're like, well, you know what? I like the pool, but I really don't need it. So you're writing that down, right? You're like, okay, they like it, but they don't want it. It's a 5-bedroom and that's just too much. So they came because they just wanted to know what the house looked like. But now, as you're asking follow-up questions, you're starting to realize what their needs really are and what their wants are. And I think that's another big thing to pay attention for, what their wants and needs are. And so to go back on the open house thing, so we want to think in abundance, right? So that's where I was saying, and I think that's such a good thing to think about. So if we're hosting an open house together and there's 3 of us, and you happen to capture a buyer, and you and I, well, now collectively we got several buyers, but it was because we were all there to help each other. So even if it's my listing, we're splitting all of them 50-50 because you helped me with my open house, and we're all going to help each other. And that was one of the examples that I got from it's a team down in Florida, DeMarco's. Let me see. I wrote it down because I thought he was really good to listen to. DiMartino. It's the DiMartino team down in Florida. They were really, really, really good to listen to and following some of the things that they go into. So after we do our open house, we want to convert them into appointments, right? Or even if we're out and about and, you know, you met them at, you know, the coffee shop, or, you know, you go to this certain flower shop all the time. So now we want to turn them into an appointment, right? We want to sit down with them, really sit down and find out what they're looking for, and what, not just necessarily their needs, but when are you looking to do it? Why do you want to move? You know, are you ready to move? So those are the other things that we want to keep in our mind. And during those appointments, so not only do we want to, obviously we have all this stuff that's great and setting them up on the 8x8s and smart plans. And I know I keep bringing those up, but I think getting all that set up now is just going to make it more easier for you on the other end. So now you just got to click buttons to put them on these things. You want to, you know, ask them those questions. Would me setting you up in MLS or sending you, you know, listings that meet your needs, you know, every day, would that be helpful to you? Well, yeah, that would be really great, right? So I'm going to, before I get too much into it, I want to show you the video that I have. Give me a sec. All right. Oops. Hold on. Now I have to share my screen. This is the fun part. All right. I promise it's only a couple minutes long.
Jennifer Pollock, and I'd like to share tips on how to find the motivated. What do I mean by find the motivated? Turning a warm lead into a closed client. The first tip is when you find someone, you want to ask for the business. Let's say you're at a party and your friend is pregnant. You can always say, hey, it looks like you need a bigger house. Or you're out and about and you see this big, beautiful diamond ring and not the full wedding ring. You can say, hey, it looks like you just got engaged. Congratulations. When are you buying your next house? And I always ask, when are you ready to buy? When are you looking to move into your new house? What are those underlying tips of motivation that will tip you off to having a client ready to do business now versus a year from now? Tip number 2, ask for the appointment. Have a calendar or your smartphone ready to say, I have availability tomorrow at 2 or the next day at 4. Which one would work for you? Book the appointment when you meet someone who's ready to do business. Tip number 3, so now you've got the appointment, you want to pre-qualify that appointment by using scripts. Ask questions such as, have you met with the lender that I referred you to the other day? To make sure that they have their price range in mind when they're meeting with you to buy a home, and that you know they're able to sell a home, or that they're motivated by a desire to have another outcome, like maybe they're relocating or they're downsizing their home. There has to be some motivation level to continue forward with the appointment. Tip number 4, use embedded commands. When you're in front of people face-to-face in an appointment, you want to be talking embedded command language, such as, when you're comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, then we'll sign the contract tonight. If you're using that language throughout your hour or half an hour appointment, they'll be more comfortable when they get to the end, and they'll sign that contract, and then you can move forward. The last step is you've signed them up, and now it's your goal to get a referral. When you're in conversation with them on the phone, in the car, at the closing, use questions. Who else do you know that's looking to buy a home, sell a house, or invest in real estate that I can call today? If you keep saying this throughout the process, you'll find yourself turning more of your current clients into referral business that will generate lots of easy sales for you. So go out there and find the motivated and have a great day.
Cute video, right?
That was good. The audio was a little rocky.
Oh, was it? Does everyone else find it weird? Oops, sorry. We don't need to watch it again, do we?
No, I think it's just because it's picking it up through your microphone.
Yeah.
Oh
It
my
doesn't-
goodness. I should have muted it. I'm sorry. I didn't even think of that. I'm sorry.
All good
No, it's
points,
okay. We
though.
can still hear the majority of it.
I'll share it with you then too, okay? I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
didn't even think of that. All right, we'll share that video. And then there's one more. Again, it's really short, few minutes long, and I promise I'll mute myself this time too. And this one has to do with their buyer's needs analysis and wants. So we were just talking about that a little bit. So I'll mute myself.
I can't hear anything, Nina.
Was everybody else able to hear it or no?
No.
Try it the same way you did before, but just increase the volume a little more. Probably that would,
Increase it? Okay. I'm sorry.
that's all right.
All right. How about this?
Is a process. Draw a line down the middle of a piece of paper and write needs on the left and wants on the right, and use it to track their needs and wants as you go. Needs
Okay.
analysis.
There we go.
A systematic process of collecting information about needs, wants, and desires that is used to establish and define goals. Needs analysis. Understand what is ultimately important to your customers and deliver it. What do you want it first and stop there? You don't realize the answer to that question is determining your customer's core wants, needs, and values is a process. Draw a line down the middle of a piece of paper and write needs on the left and wants on the right, and use it to track their needs and wants as you go through this process. At this point, you will have a clear understanding of what buyers need versus what they want, but you are not done. Now, you want to drill down and uncover their values by finding out why they need and want what they do. Use this question. What about blank is important to you? Let's see how it works. Say your buyer has told you that they want or need a large yard.
What's about a large yard that's important to you? You like gardening. What's important about gardening?
Your buyer says, I like to spend time outdoors. It helps me relax. You ask,
If you feel relaxed, what's important about being relaxed?
your buyer says, when I relax, I can spend more quality time with my wife. A large yard equals family. At this point, you've uncovered a value. You can now look for other ways it applies to your buyer.
A large yard is important because it allows you to spend quality time with your wife, correct? What else about your new home would be important to you in terms of spending more time with your wife?
There we go. Cute little tidbits, right? All right. So just a little nuggets of things that I found that asking those follow-up questions and really digging deeper into, like he just did with the finding out that he likes to garden, well, relax, and now more time with my wife. So those are good things to find out about the families.
Do we all use a checklist when sitting with a buyer of, I mean, we have one that says, it starts out with what town are you looking in? What towns are you looking in? What kind of house? Let's talk about that. And then it progresses all the way down through the various rooms. Is a garage important to you? To this video's point, is a yard important? Tell me about those.
Mhm.
But we get even more specific. Do you need or want to have hardwood? Those kind of questions. And it's a reasonably long list, but every answer they give you gives you some insight into what exactly they may be looking for.
Mhm.
But tempering all that, and we've all heard the phrase, buyers are,
Liars. No.
they,
We just don't dig enough, I think.
well,
Um,
buyers often don't know. You touched on it very early, Nina. Buyers don't know what they don't know.
that's true.
And they may have something in mind that when you dig down into it, there are other options for them, other things
Mhm.
they might consider.
Exactly.
So you kind of have to weigh the conversation as you're having it with them. And it won't be in just one conversation because it evolves. It really does.
It sure does. And doing this a lot up front, though, also helps with the ambiguous things later on. So after you've shown, 10 houses, all of a sudden they go, "Why are you showing me capes? I don't like capes." Well, if you knew that in the beginning, then you wouldn't have showed them those capes because they don't like them. So finding out the smaller details, whether it's the yard, by the lake, you need to be, close to your mom, or it's okay. It doesn't matter which town I go in. Having those conversations in the beginning is really important. Um, let's see. Where'd it go? And then we break them down into different types of buyers, right? We have the A buyer who's hot, and one of the acronyms is RAW, ready, able, willing, right? They're ready, they're on their way, they have their pre-approval. Now it's just finding those houses. So those are the ones that we want to stay in contact with, right? Every couple of days, checking in. Hey, I just sent you listings. Those are the ones that are going to keep you busy on your day to day because you want to get them their house as soon as you can. Then we have category B. They're the warm ones. They're the ones that they're able and they're ready, but they're in the not right now. So you're going to set those people up on those smart plans, the touches. You're going to call them maybe not as often as you do your A buyers, but you're still going to keep in contact because they're going to buy eventually, whether it's in 4 or 6 months. Those are your warm ones, right? Within the next 6 months. And so you want to stay in contact with them. And you want to ask them the questions. You want to dig a little bit deeper into, well, why not now? What's holding you back? Asking those questions to figure out, and it could very well be, well, I have to sell my house. I can't buy something else without the proceeds from my house. All right. So then that's the big thing right there. Well, what if I told you, I can help you sell that house and get you into the house that you want, that, that's of your dreams, or, that all your kids are out of the house. All right, let's get you downsized. How can I help you do that? And it would be putting your house on the market, right? So now you've gained 2 transactions by showing that not only can I help you find that one, but I help you sell your home too. And if not now, when? Well, you know what? I have to wait for my, I'm sorry, my daughter. I have to, wait for my daughter to graduate high school, right? Because I got 1 more year. So we need to wait. Great. So they're going to be like lukewarm, right? Because now you must make sure that you're checking in with them. It's not like they're not cold, but you still have to stay in contact with that one. And then we have C, the ones that are kind of cold, right? But they're the ones that it's now up to you to get them ready. So it's the make it happen people. How do I help you, buyer, get the home that you've been wanting, because you don't want to be in that rental anymore, or you're tired of living with your parents. How do I make that happen? Do you need a lender? When is the right time? Oh, I need to finish up, just this semester of college and then I'm ready. Okay, great. So you want to keep asking those probing questions and get to the core of what it is that's driving them, and holding them back. So there's a reason why they want to, but now this is where you really need to show your value to that client, that I can help you get ready, and I could probably get you ready sooner than you think. So they're the ones that are a little scared.
Nina,
Really? Yeah.
one of the salient points that we found relative to that is credit repair. They want to, they're even willing to, they might even have a little money saved up, but their credit isn't where it needs to be. And that was true a month ago. It's even more true now. And knowing that you can forward them to people who can help them with that, MLOs that you have a rapport with, will be to their advantage and to your advantage. Because very often people have misguided perceptions about what the credit is and how they can repair it. Well, I'll just pay off all this bill. No, that's really not what you want to do.
Exactly.
And we've got somebody exactly who can tell you, and you can get your credit repaired in maybe 90 days.
Yeah.
So
And sometimes that's so doable.
yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, again, they don't know what they don't know.
Yep.
And when you come from a place of contribution, I think they appreciate it. They know that it's not just the sale and it's not just the money, that you actually care that they're going to be where they want to be.
Well, the other half of that I'll mention is Keller Mortgage, because very often, even if their credit's good, they need some closing cost money. They don't have $4 or $5 grand in the bank yet, but they're going to be saving it up over the next 8, 9, 10, 11 months. With Keller Mortgage, they pay the closing costs, and they give you $1,000 besides. And that made the difference in a couple of our clients between waiting another 10 months and, oh, well, hell's bells, I can do that now then.
Nice.
And hey, they closed the 23rd of December. So that was a very happy time for them.
Oh, Merry
Yay.
Christmas on that one, huh?
Exactly. And we've had great success with Keller Mortgage. They've been very, very good to work with.
Oh, that's really good.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't used Keller Mortgage yet. But-
Amber said that they're really great.
So we have two really greats. I like it. So we talked about their needs. So I sent you the needs and lead sheet. So you have that. Other good things to find out, like their price point, right? Their timeline. And mainly their motivation and purpose. I think that's the biggest thing. And early on, as with me being an agent, those are the things that I forgot to ask. And I think it probably would have helped out a lot more understanding my buyer and understanding where I fit into their path of buying that home. And I think it would have helped, and it would avoid wasting time on seeing houses that they really didn't want, or just having that better communication. So when you're on your buyer's appointments and you're trying to find this information out, I've also found that having these conversations before you start seeing homes is probably a good idea. A quick 30, 45-minute sit-down conversation before you start showing the houses, hitting the main points, their price point, the motivation, the who, what, whys, and where do you want to live, and helping them out with that and having that initial talk. And other things, like Quack said, will evolve over the course of showing them houses and getting to know them better. But having that first and then setting up expectations, because they have a life, we have a life, we have families, we have functions, and we have things that we need to do. So asking them, what's the best way to contact you? Do you like being called? Do you like emails? Is texting okay? What's your availability like to see other homes? You know, maybe they can only, you know, go after work. And, you know, Sundays are no good because maybe they spend that all that day with their family and they don't want to see houses. So having that conversation shows too that you're mindful of their time, but now it's also helping you with yours. And now, and then it goes the other way. So buyer, if you see a home that you like, this is how I'd like you to tell me about it. You know, send it to me in a text message, or you can call me in these times. So setting up your boundaries, because I found in the buyers that I've dealt with, if I let them get away with one small thing, or if I said that at 8 o'clock when they texted me that was okay, that 8 o'clock turned into 9 and 10, and then 6 o'clock in the morning when I'm not ready to do real estate. I'm not ready to answer those questions. I may be too tired, or I might be still sleeping. So setting up a boundary with them too, giving them the expectations you have of them as well as of what they have of you, and being mindful of them and honoring them. And this is where not all agents use a buyer's agency agreement, and less than 30% of agents use a buyer's agency agreement. But if you approach it in a way that this is, you sign stuff when you go to the doctor's office, like, okay, you're going to be my doctor and you can't give up my information. You sign a contract with your contractor, right? You're signing these things to say that your service is important to me. And if you approach a buyer's agency agreement in that fashion, it's a way that you're going to hold each other accountable. I'm going to hold you accountable, buyer, to tell me what your needs and wants are. And when I'm not meeting up to them, it's your job to tell me. And it's my job to give you that information and give you my full 100% professionalism, because without that, then we don't have an agreement. I don't know what you want, and you don't know what my job is. And I want to be able to help you out to the best of my abilities, but I need to know that we're both committed to this. And most people, when you're coming at it that way, are going to be more apt to signing that buyer's agency agreement. We'll let them out of them if it really comes push to shove, but it's just that it's a little bit more of a commitment than a handshake. It's just that one step above that handshake. Like, yes, I want you to work with me. I want to work with you, and we're going to find the home that you love for you and your family. So I think finding ways to add that in, I think it'll solidify a good relationship with a buyer. And then I feel like it'll help them from straying so much. As long as you are being accountable for the things that you've agreed to, then it just becomes a better relationship. And then you have more control over your time and money because you have those expectations of each other.
Do any of you not use a buyer's agreement?
When have I not?
No. Do any Danielle, Jake, Leah, Rose, Ricardo, do any of you not use a buyer's agreement?
I had one that was signed by only one of my two buyers, because I started working with her like a year or so before her boyfriend decided to go look for a home together with her.
Uh-huh.
And, that was a nightmare, because I had also had signed the commission agreement that my commission's at 2.5%, and a lot of the homes so it was a challenge trying to convince them, hey, I have this in writing that you're willing to pay this commission rate. So how do you want to approach this? Do you want to include that in your offer, that they pay the remainder of my commission, or do you want to pay that out of pocket? And I would never go at it without an agreement. Now, knowing how much I had to lean on those in my transaction.
We work exclusively with buyer's agreements.
Mhm.
And the perfect time to do it, which you have to do anyway, is when you're discussing the agency. And right up front, we say, listen, we have 2 documents to cover with you. We're going to go through all the questions, but at the end, we've got the second document. Here's the agency. Here's what this is all about. Our fiduciary responsibilities to you, yada, yada, yada. This is not a contract. You can sign it or not sign it, but we're going to explain it to you. The last one we'll talk about is a contract, and that's between us. That makes us a team. Just as if you share information with us in a fiduciary manner, we're going to keep that between ourselves because we are now a team. The last document that we'll speak to, which is the buyer's agreement, also is speaking to us as being a team. And as a team, we'll go out and find you that property that you absolutely want. And we haven't had anybody say no. I mean, some of them have more discussion than others, but at the end, they're all pretty willing to sign that once they understand that that's what it's all about.
Right. And I wish I would have done this because I lost 4 buyers, and I totaled it up. It was probably a commission of, after all said and done, about $20,000.
Ouch.
So that was ridiculously stupid. But I had somebody tell me, oh, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And at the time, it was, the person that I was relying on the leads from. So I had to do it their way. I now will never work with another buyer without one. I won't. And just like Quack said, if you're approaching it in a way where it's, we're working as a team, we're going to find you your home, and like you're making those expectations and you're showing your commitment and your value. And that's why, we have this agreement. And I think it's the most important thing. And hopefully we have more classes and ways to communicate that better with our buyers, because we do it with our listings.
We typically, we'll discuss, Rose, to your point, the 2.5% commission. Generally, commissions that are offered are, this is our conversation with them, are 5%. Generally, that's 2.5% for a buyer, 2.5% for the seller's agent. But there's a box here that says if it's 3%, because some of them are, and we show you that house and that's the one we close on, we're going to give you 0.5% back to you because our agreement is for 2.5%. Now, does that happen often? No, I think it's happened once. But it makes a difference to what they're hearing. It changes their perception.
Right.
Oh, 2.5% is fair. I get it because that's what people offer. All right, so why would we be different? And there's an opportunity where we might even get 0.5% back.
Yes.
So,
I mean, in that particular situation, the sellers happened to be, they had recently purchased the home, so they didn't really have enough equity to cover the commission that they paid. So they used the same agent and she just took a commission cut.
Mhm.
And, if I hadn't had that moment with my buyers where I explained to them that, I would be reimbursing them for any commissions over 2.5%, they probably wouldn't have even thought twice about it being potential for them to have to pay it out of pocket.
Right.
So, when we put the offer in and I asked them, hey, your offer is pretty low. Do you want to put this in the offer or do you want to just pay that out of pocket later on? Both are options for you. And that is a conversation that it was strengthened by this agreement.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, Quack, in the event that the listing agent is only offering 2%, do you get that 0.5%?
We don't drive for that. And the way we're looking at it, and I understand that some people will want that extra 0.5%, and in some cases, you absolutely should go for it. But we're looking for it if it's 2% and we've got a successful transaction, then and these people have been happy with us all the way through the process, then we're going to get a referral down the line from them, and that's not worth 0.5% to me, right?
Yep.
It's just not worth stirring up the mud.
Yeah.
Right.
And with our buyer's agency forms, so we have the Greater Boston one and we have the MAR one. So just recently I signed one with a buyer and I found that the MAR one is better. than the Greater Boston one. So if you have a chance to look at them, I highly suggest you do. I just like the MAR, it read better and it explained things a little bit better. So it was easy for me to have this conversation with them. And then that just might help you want to use them more. So I would definitely give them a read and look them over. And other things that I feel like that we can do from this now, because I think I also emailed you the scripts. I think role playing is a great time right now. And, you know, maybe through whoever also shows up for Ignite and in other classes, we can pass it along. But maybe having the role playing done and just seeing how people get over the objections of certain things, whether it's positive or negative, and talking them out and helping each other either say, oh my gosh, that's great, I'm writing that down because I haven't heard that before and it sounded like it worked, or even helping each other just get through that objection to give advice. So that would be something that I would like to start doing. And I talked to Mark a little bit today about it, because we're preparing classes for the future. And so look on the horizon for those. But if anybody wants to do, you know, scripts, like, you know, text each other, hey, are you free at like 3 o'clock this afternoon? I want to practice scripts. And then we could be like, all right, well, I'm going to call you at 3 and I'm going to be a buyer. So, you know, I think that'll be a lot of fun and a great way for us to practice while we have a little bit of a time to do so.
Nina, this is
Yeah.
the one that you mentioned, Mar, that's the one.
Is that the MAR one? Buyer's agency? Yes.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
practicing with my wife.
Um,
So. And what the percentage is on the other page. I put
Yeah.
2.5. We use 2.5 as standard, right? On the
Yeah.
commission.
Yep, that's what I put in there too. And I did
Say
0.
you get 2% because they only get 2% buyers, you know, agency.
Mhm.
That's
But then
fine.
what I also like about that one too, though, is that if you read down a little bit, it also says that as the agent, I will work my best to work out my commission through MLS and through the with the listing agent. Yeah, it's right there in one of those 2 paragraphs.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I liked about it. Because then it gives you those talking points. Like, yes, I am going to do whatever I can to not have this, you know, come from you, because we do split. But in the event, are you still willing to do that? You know, and if they're not, and you're okay with taking 2%, like Quack, and I think I would do the same thing too, is just take my
Quick question for
2%.
you regarding that. I got 2 samples. When I bought my first house, I used a Kelly Williams agent, and she put a name like the way I did in here. You see?
Yeah.
Okay. But in the other sample, when I started Kelly Williams, I just put the broker name in there.
Yeah, no, put your name.
Or both are applicable.
Yeah, I put my name, Nina Rowan, KW Premier Prop. Yeah.
I just want to make sure. Okay.
Nina, I've got to jump off.
Okay. Thank you so much, Quack, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. If I can help ever, just let me know.
All right.
Thank you, Clark.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Clark.
your help.
Bye all.
Bye. I have another like thing, but I think what I'll do is I'll just send you the clip. It's from a video that I watched. The same people that I was speaking of. What did I say their name was? I'm losing my spot. The DiMartino team. So what he did was he did a lot with the open house part, like really asking some big questions while you're in an open house with a buyer that doesn't have an agent. But I liked the content that was in it, and it runs a little long. That's why playing it now would just be a little too much. I think it was like 10, 15 minutes of dialogue, but they were role playing. And they're both on the same team. And so it was just asking all of those follow-up questions. And I thought that they were different questions than what I would normally ask, and in a different way, which I feel getting someone else's perspective on it is always like, it helps you with the words that you may not have realized. And so this is why I like role playing, because it could be something that you want to say, but you don't know how to say it yet. So, because I have a hard time with my words when I'm talking to a new client, and it bothers me because I don't want to come off where I don't know what I'm talking about, even though I know I do, and you're just fumbling, and I don't like to fumble. So I will share that video with you also. And I'll just tell you what time frame to go with the video, because it's an 1.5-hour video, but I found
Wow.
the time frame. Well, yeah, what am I gonna do? I sit here and my kids are so this is what I do, and I get little nuggets from it. But I'll give you the time frame of where that conversation happened, so you can just fast forward to the spot. Other than that, I think using your smart plans, using your apps. Hopefully, I know our app right now isn't 100% because it still shows that first picture for MLS, but we know that now went to the highest powers that be with Josh Team, and Gary Keller knows about it. So they're supposed to have it worked out for us by, I think, mid to end of April, which I think is pretty awesome that they listened and heard us, our regional people, and getting that fixed. So the more we use them, the better we're going to be. We're setting up those smart plans, making sure our neighborhoods are done. I really feel like that will put us over. A few people that I think that you should be following on Facebook, on YouTube, to help you get through these, whether it's, like right now, I highly suggest that you're going through your database, adding neighborhoods and the smart plans to who you have for those addresses and stuff. Like, I highly, highly suggest that we're doing that now. But Marty Miller, which he does that 66-day challenge thing, he's somebody that you should subscribe to on YouTube. Lori Ballen, Ballen, she's another one. Jay Cermak, and that's Cermak, and Scott Leroy. These 4 people have really mastered command, and they've broken it down into the simplest forms, to where, if you have it open up on your phone and you're following it on your command, I have complete faith that all of you will be able to get it worked out, and then you're going to feel wonderful because they've laid it out so easily for you. So if you whether it's smart plans or whether it's using design, if you can start looking stuff up with them for people, I think you'd be very, very successful. So with that being said, here we are at 5:15ish. You guys have any questions, or you want to share stuff? Any aha moments or takeaways that you liked?
I just, out of curiosity, I know this is a command question, but with the smart plans, how do you find, are there any preset smart plans? I haven't been able to find any that I could just apply. I'd have to make them from scratch.
Nope, I can show you right now. Oh, hold on. I will. All right. All right, so So smart plans. Can y'all see my screen?
Mhm.
Okay. To get rid of this. All right. So up here, so this is what I have already set up. But if you come to library, they're all there. These are all ones that you can pick from. The 8x8, the quarterly call, open house follow-up. That's the one I was talking about earlier. Promoting your app, long-time nurtures. So those would be your people in your C category as far as your lead generation. The monthly neighborhood nurture, which hopefully we're all utilizing. And then home anniversaries. So let's take, how about if we try open house follow-up? Okay. It should open. Did this the other day. All right. So I just added it. Now I go into my smart plans and it's right there. And now I'm going to come over here to edit. I know I'm doing this really fast, but we're going to be having classes come up on this. Mark, Leo, and I were talking about them earlier today. So, so this is what it looks like. And then it gives you your time frames. So day one, it's going to, if you have a Twilio account, okay, only if you have a Twilio account, it's going to say that you can put a text message. Okay, so you can also do this for yourself as just a task reminder. So you can set it up to do that for you instead of having Twilio do it. But Twilio is, it is 0.0075 cents to send one text message. So for $20 and, you know, to set up Twilio, it does that. So it's fairly inexpensive to have it. One thing that Mark mentioned this morning about them was that it creates a different phone number for you to use. And then originally it comes out of Texas, but he mentioned that you can have it be a more local number. So I'm not quite sure how that works completely yet, but do a little bit of homework in it before you sign up for Twilio if that's a concern for you. And then day one, so if they, you set up another one, so you can set it up a next day, 3 days later to create another task. So you can go through here, customize it however you like, which I think is like fantastic. And once you set it, you're done. So you can come in here and make this your own, you know. Thank you. Hi, you know, Ricardo, thank you for coming to my open house. You know, I hoped you liked it. What were some of your favorite features? Something just to get that re-engagement with them is really what you're looking for. So that's on the ones that are canned. You cannot manipulate it. So you can't delete certain tasks or you can't add certain tasks to it. So what you see is what you're gonna get as far as those are. So that's where you would find them.
Okay.
In library. That was your
Now,
original question.
with Twilio sending texts out, would you be able to respond if they had said, yeah, you know, I like these features?
Yep,
You know.
you'll get your respond through Kelly.
Mm.
So if they respond to you, you'll get a notification with Kelly.
Okay.
But, you know, these are all the ones that you can pick from. If you have birthdays, you know, sometimes that's really easy. Click on your birthday reminder. And again, you can set it up as a task instead of it being like an automatic Twilio thing. And so what would happen is once you did that and it was a task, you're going to see it here. So I had a quarterly call that I was supposed to give to my past client on the 8th. So if I had other tasks coming up that they were more birthdays, then, you know, it would come up here. Like it's so-and-so's birthday coming up. You know, you might want to give them a call or a text message or something. So that's how the smart plans would work.
Great.
They're pretty cool. Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. Thank you, Rose.
Thanks for showing me.
Yeah, that was a good one. All right. Any more things before we go? Any questions or
I don't think so.
Mr. Jake, you've been quiet.
Yeah, no, I think I'm all set with the questions. Everything was pretty clear, very informative too.
Thank you. Yeah, buyers, I kind of know my buyers a little bit. 2.5 years, that's all I did. So if this was a listing one, I would be begging for a listing agent to be on here. I've worked through a few of them, but always had questions. So, so next week, we're going to do week 6. Which is showing your value. So that's what we're going to do for next Monday. Hopefully I can get a guest speaker to help us out with that. One of our ALC members or something to come on board and help. But anyway, if you guys don't have any questions, thank you for coming and listening to me. I hope
Thank
it
you
was,
very much.
you're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Good, good, good. You
Thanks.
are welcome. Good night,
Thanks, Olivia.
guys.